Tesla will tell you exactly what the Cybertruck costs to buy. What they won't tell you is what it costs to own. Those are two very different numbers, and the gap between them might change everything. Stick around, because later in this video, we're going to talk about one specific cost that almost every Cybertruck buyer completely ignores until it's too late. And when you hear it, you're going to understand why this truck is a very different financial commitment than Tesla's website makes it look. Let's start at the beginning, because most people's first mistake happens before they ever take delivery. You go to Tesla's website, you see the Cybertruck starting somewhere in the mid-$60,000 range for the base model, maybe closer to $80,000 or higher for the all-wheel drive or Cyberbeast trim. And you think, okay, I know what I'm getting into. You don't. Here's what Tesla's listed price doesn't include. Destination and order fees, those add up right away. Then there's your state sales tax, and depending on where you live in the US, that alone can add several $1,000s to the final number. Title and registration fees on top of that, and if you're financing, which most buyers are, you're also looking at interest charges that stretch out over the life of your loan. By the time a typical US buyer actually drives a Cybertruck off the lot, the real out-the-door price is often meaningfully higher than what they budgeted for when they first saw that number on Tesla's website. This is where it starts costing you more than you planned, and you haven't even owned it for a single day yet. Now, some buyers do qualify for the federal EV tax credit, which can offset a portion of that cost, but that credit comes with income limits and eligibility requirements. Not every buyer qualifies, so don't count on it until you've confirmed it with a tax professional. The point is simple. The price Tesla shows you and the price you actually pay are not the same number. Build that into your thinking from day one. Okay, so now you own it, let's talk about the cost that hits you every single month and that almost nobody factors in correctly before they buy. Insurance. Most people buying a Cybertruck are coming from a regular gas-powered truck, an F-150, a Ram 1500, something in that world, and they assume insurance on the Cybertruck will be in the same ballpark. It's not. The Cybertruck is an expensive, high-profile vehicle with a body made of stainless steel, a material that insurers have very little historical repair data on. When insurers price a policy, they're thinking about risk. How much will it cost to repair this vehicle after an accident? How available are the parts? How many shops can actually work on it? With the Cybertruck, the answers to those questions make insurers nervous, and when insurers are nervous, premiums go up. For many Cybertruck owners, insurance costs are running significantly higher than what they paid on a comparable gas truck. In some cases, buyers are reporting premiums that are nearly double what they expected. The exact number depends on your location, your driving record, and your coverage level, but across the board, this is not a cheap vehicle to insure. Most people don't realize this until they're already committed to the purchase. And here's what makes it worse. This isn't a one-time cost. This is money leaving your pocket every single month for as long as you own the truck. Over a 5-year ownership period, the difference between an average insurance premium and a high one adds up to a number that would make most buyers pause before signing. Here's the part that gets expensive and almost never comes up in Cybertruck content: tires. The Cybertruck is a heavy vehicle, significantly heavier than most traditional trucks in its class. That weight puts constant stress on the tires, and the truck uses large, specialized tires that aren't cheap to replace. Standard truck tires on a gas-powered pickup are widely available. You can shop around. You've got options at multiple price points. The Cybertruck's tires are a different situation. The specific size and load rating required means your selection is narrower, and narrower selection means less price competition, which means you pay more. For many owners, tire wear is happening faster than expected, especially for drivers who use the truck's performance capabilities regularly or who are towing. And given the vehicle's weight, even normal daily driving puts more demand on tires than a lighter truck would. When replacement time comes, many owners are finding that a full set of tires runs into serious money. This isn't a cost that hits you in month 1, but it will hit you. And if you haven't planned for it, it will feel like it came out of nowhere. We're just getting started. Coming up, we're going to break down exactly what charging this truck actually costs you, what happens when it needs a repair, and that one specific cost I mentioned at the top that most buyers don't see until it's already too late. All right, let's talk about charging, because this is where a lot of EV buyers, not just Cybertruck buyers, make a significant financial miscalculation. The pitch is simple. Electricity is cheaper than gas. And on paper, that's true. But the actual cost of charging a Cybertruck in real American life is more complicated than that one sentence makes it sound. Let's break it down. If you're charging at home overnight, which is the ideal situation, your cost per mile is generally lower than what you'd pay for gas in a comparable truck. That part of the EV promise holds up for the most part. But here's what changes the math. First, the Cybertruck has a large battery. Charging a large battery from low to full at home takes a long time on a standard outlet. Most owners end up installing a level 2 home charger to make overnight charging practical. That installation, the charger unit plus professional electrical work, typically runs several hundred to over $1,000 depending on your home's existing electrical setup. That's an upfront cost that doesn't show up anywhere in Tesla's ownership calculator. Second, and this is the part that surprises people, not every Cybertruck owner charges primarily at home. Apartment dwellers, condo owners, people in older homes without the right electrical panel, these buyers are far more dependent on public charging. And public charging, especially DC fast charging at Tesla superchargers, costs significantly more per kilowatt hour than your home electricity rate. When you're road tripping or relying on public chargers regularly, that cost gap between EVs and gas trucks gets a lot narrower. For some driving patterns, it nearly disappears. Third, towing. This is critical for truck buyers specifically. When you tow with the Cybertruck, range drops hard. Depending on load and conditions, some owners report range dropping by 40 to 50% or more while towing. That means more charging stops, longer trips, and more money spent on public charging per mile. For a buyer who purchased this truck to actually use it as a truck, hauling a trailer, towing a boat, the charging economics look very different than they do for a buyer using it as a daily commuter. Most people don't run these numbers before they buy. They hear electricity is cheaper than gas and stop there. The real answer is, it depends entirely on how you charge, where you charge, and how you use the truck. Here's the part that gets expensive fast, and it's one of the most unique financial risks attached to this specific vehicle. The Cybertruck's body is stainless steel. That's a big part of its identity. It looks different, it feels different. Tesla has positioned it as tough, durable, futuristic, and in some ways it is. But here's what stainless steel means in a collision repair context. Traditional vehicle body panels, aluminum, stamped steel, are well understood by the repair industry. Thousands of shops across the U.S. know how to work with them. Parts are available, labor is predictable. Repairs, while never cheap, follow a process that's been refined over decades. Stainless steel doesn't work that way. It cannot be reshaped the same way conventional panels can be after impact. In many cases, damaged panels need to be replaced entirely rather than repaired. And because the Cybertruck is still a relatively new and low-volume vehicle, replacement panels are not sitting in warehouses across the country waiting to be shipped to your local body shop. What this means practically, repair times after even moderate damage can be long. Parts availability has been a real issue for owners who've gone through this, and the labor cost at shops that are actually qualified to work on the vehicle reflects the complexity and scarcity involved. Insurance companies know this. It's a significant reason why Cybertruck insurance premiums run high. They're pricing in the repair reality, not just the vehicle value. For a buyer who lives in a dense urban area, parks in tight lots, deals with hail risk, or simply drives in conditions where minor dings and scrapes happen, this is a serious consideration. A dent that would cost a few $100s to fix on a conventional truck can become a much larger bill on a Cybertruck. This is where the tough stainless steel selling point starts to cut both ways. One of the most repeated EV selling points is that maintenance costs are lower, and broadly that's accurate. No oil changes, no transmission fluid, fewer mechanical components that wear out the way they do in a gas engine. But lower is not the same as cheap. And for the Cybertruck specifically, there are maintenance realities worth knowing. Brake fluid still needs to be serviced. Cabin air filters need replacement. Tire rotations matter, especially given the weight and tire wear patterns we already discussed. And the air suspension system on certain configurations of Cybertruck adds a component that, if it needs service or replacement, is not inexpensive. Tesla also recommends periodic inspections that, while not as frequent as gas vehicle service intervals, still carry a cost. And because Tesla operates its own service network, you're largely working within their pricing structure. There's less ability to shop around compared to owning a conventional truck. For many owners, annual maintenance costs are lower than a gas truck, but the savings are sometimes smaller than expected, and in years when a non-routine repair comes up, the cost advantage can shrink considerably. Let's talk about something that barely gets mentioned in Cybertruck content, but hits your wallet every single year: registration fees. In most U.S. states, vehicle registration is calculated based on the value of the vehicle. The higher the value, the higher the annual fee. And since the Cybertruck sits at a high price point, annual registration in many states runs meaningfully higher than what most truck owners are used to paying. But here's the layer that catches EV buyers completely off guard. Several U.S. states charge an additional annual fee specifically for electric vehicles. The reasoning behind it, whether you agree with it or not, is that EV drivers don't pay gas taxes, and gas taxes traditionally fund road maintenance. So some states have added a dedicated EV surcharge to make up for that gap. Depending on your state, that additional fee can range from modest to genuinely significant. Texas, California, Florida, Georgia, many of the highest Cybertruck ownership states have some version of this fee built in. In some states, it's a flat annual charge. In others, it's structured differently. The point is, when you're calculating what this truck costs you every year, registration isn't just the base DMV fee. For a high-value EV in the wrong state, it's a number that deserves real attention in your budget. Here it is, the cost I've been referencing since the beginning of this video, the one that almost nobody talks about because it doesn't show up as a monthly bill. You don't get a charge for it, no invoice arrives, it just quietly happens, and by the time most owners realize it, tens of thousands of dollars are already gone. Depreciation. Every vehicle loses value over time. That's not new information. But the rate at which a vehicle depreciates and the specific factors driving that rate is where the Cybertruck story gets complicated. Here's the core issue. The Cybertruck launched into the market as a polarizing, high-hype vehicle. Early reservation holders waited years. The demand felt massive, and for a window of time, used Cybertruck prices reflected that hype. Some early units were trading at or above sticker. That window has largely closed. As Tesla has ramped up production and the initial novelty has settled, resale values have softened, and several factors specific to the Cybertruck make its long-term depreciation picture more uncertain than a typical truck. First, it's a first-generation vehicle. The Cybertruck is Tesla's first serious attempt at a full-size pickup. First-generation vehicles, historically, tend to depreciate faster than refined, established models. Buyers of used first-gen vehicles often price in the uncertainty of unknown long-term reliability. That uncertainty suppresses what they're willing to pay. Second, Tesla's own pricing behavior creates a depreciation risk that's specific to this brand. Tesla has a history of adjusting vehicle prices, sometimes significantly. When Tesla drops the price of a new Cybertruck, every existing owner's vehicle is worth less overnight. This isn't speculation, it's happened repeatedly across Tesla's lineup. It's a risk that doesn't exist in the same way with traditional automakers who manage pricing more conservatively. Third, the broader EV used market is still finding its floor. Battery longevity concerns, evolving charging infrastructure, rapid technology advancement, all of these factors make used EV buyers cautious, and cautious buyers offer lower prices. For a Cybertruck owner who finances the truck and plans to sell or trade in after 4 or 5 years, depreciation isn't an abstract concept. It's the difference between breaking even on your loan and being underwater, owing more than the truck is worth. That's a financial position that can follow you into your next vehicle purchase. This is the cost that doesn't show up on any Tesla spec sheet, but for many owners, it ends up being the largest single financial impact of owning this truck. So let's put it all together.
Because the real question most buyers come to this video with is simple. Compared to a gas-powered truck, does the Cybertruck actually make financial sense? The honest answer is, it depends, but the conditions under which it makes sense are more specific than Tesla's marketing suggests. If you own your home, can install a level 2 charger, drive primarily for daily commuting, rarely tow heavy loads, live in a state without aggressive EV surcharges, qualify for the federal tax credit, and plan to keep the truck long-term, the ownership math can work in your favor over time. The lower fuel and maintenance costs are real, and they do accumulate. But if you rent, rely on public charging, use the truck for heavy towing regularly, live in a high registration state, don't qualify for the tax credit, and plan to sell in 3 to 5 years, the financial case gets weak fast. In that scenario, a conventional gas truck may actually cost you less over the same ownership period once all the real numbers are on the table. The mistake most buyers make is running the best-case scenario math and assuming it applies to their actual life. It often doesn't. Let's do what Tesla's website will never do for you. Let's put every cost we've covered in this video in one place and look at the full picture together. You start with the sticker price, already higher than most buyers budget for once taxes, fees, and destination charges are added. Then insurance hits you every month, and for most Cybertruck owners, it's running higher than they paid on their last truck. Tires will need replacement sooner than expected, and the cost per set is not comparable to a standard pickup. If you're not charging at home on a proper level 2 setup, your fuel savings start shrinking fast. And if you're towing regularly, they shrink even faster. Maintenance is lower than a gas truck, but not zero, and any non-routine repair on that stainless steel body is a serious expense. Registration costs more than most people expect, especially in states with EV surcharges. And sitting quietly underneath it all, depreciation is working against your investment every single day. None of these costs are hidden in the sense that they're secret. They're just never presented together. And when you only ever see them one at a time, it's easy to underestimate what they add up to. That's the gap this video was built to close. Here's something most automotive channels won't say directly. Not every buyer should walk away from the Cybertruck. For the right person, in the right situation, it's a genuinely interesting vehicle with a real ownership case behind it. If you're a homeowner with a stable daily commute, a solid electrical setup, and you're buying this truck because you want it and can absorb the insurance and depreciation without it damaging your financial position, go in with open eyes and it can work. If you're a tech-forward buyer who values the software experience, the performance, and the brand, and you're treating the higher costs as the price of that experience rather than expecting to save money, that's a legitimate and honest framework. But if you're buying the Cybertruck because you believe it's going to save you significant money over a gas truck, you need to stress test that assumption hard before you sign anything. For many real-world buyers across many real-world driving patterns, that calculation doesn't hold up the way the marketing implies. Know what category you're actually in before you commit. Before we wrap, one practical piece of advice that applies to every buyer considering a high-cost vehicle like this. Build your own total cost of ownership estimate before you buy. Not Tesla's, yours. Take the out-the-door price you'll actually pay, get a real insurance quote, not a rough estimate, an actual quote from your insurer for this specific vehicle. Factor in your charging situation honestly, look up your state's registration fees and EV surcharges, research tire replacement costs for the specific trim you're buying, and then think seriously about how long you plan to own it and what the resale market looks like. When you lay all of that out in a simple document and look at the real monthly cost of ownership, not the best-case scenario, the realistic one, you'll know whether this truck fits your financial life or not. That 1 hour of homework can save you years of financial regret, and that's true for the Cybertruck and honestly for any major vehicle purchase. If you want more breakdowns like this, we've got a full playlist called Real Cost of Owning a Car in USA, right here on Car Cost Breakdown. Link is in the description. Every video is built the same way. No hype, just the real numbers American buyers actually need. Here's what I want you to leave this video with. The Cybertruck is not a bad truck, but it is an expensive one in more ways than the sticker price shows. The buyers who will regret this purchase are the ones who bought into the hype without running the real numbers first. The buyers who will feel good about it are the ones who went in knowing exactly what they were getting into, costs included. You just did the work most buyers skip. That puts you in a fundamentally different position than the average person walking into this purchase. Whether you buy it or not, you now know what it actually costs, and that knowledge is worth something. If this breakdown helped you think more clearly about this purchase, subscribe to Car Cost Breakdown. This is exactly what we do. Cut through the marketing and give you the real financial picture on the vehicles Americans are actually buying. Before you go, drop a comment below. Are you still considering the Cybertruck after watching this, or did something in this video change your thinking? Either way, I want to hear it.